nice. Good morning, namaskar, welcome. Let us begin with a prayer. This is from Sri Shankaracharya's Pratasmarana Stotram. Pratasmarana Stotram, composed by Sri Shankara, has only 3 stanzas, 3 shlokas. The first thing we have to do every morning when we wake up is to remind ourselves our divine nature. So this is the first stanza. Om Pratasmarami hridisam spuradatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yat swapna jagara sushuptamavaiti nityam Tad brahmanishkalamaham nacha bhuta sanghaha. At dawn, I meditate within my heart on the self-effulgent Atman, the existence, consciousness, bliss absolute, Satchidananda, the goal of the greatest ascetics, the transcendent and the eternal, who is beyond the stain of walking, beyond the states of waking, dream and sleep. I am really that indivisible Brahman and not a combination of material elements that this body and mind are. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The topic for this morning's study is the first steps towards yoga. Yoga is, the word yoga is used in different meanings, in different contexts. In this context, first step towards yoga, the intended meaning is any path that leads us towards the ultimate goal of realizing our true nature, that we are that ultimate reality and not the body and the mind. Upanishad says this very succinctly in the Mahavakyas, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, etc. We have to experience that in this life. That's the purpose of human life. So that is general meaning of yoga is any path that leads us to that goal. And in our tradition, Sanatana Dharma tradition, there are many paths. We call them different yogas. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, all those things, we are familiar with those. So anything, any set of activities, disciplines that helps us to reach that goal of realizing our true nature. In Bhakti Yoga, it is achieving pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti Prema. That discipline, set of disciplines is called yoga. Now, the spiritual life in general, we can say. So what are the first things to do? What are the first basic disciplines that we all have to practice in order to engage in serious spiritual practice? Different teachers have given different sets of instructions. In the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, many of you studied that one, Patanjali has given 10 disciplines constituting the first 2 steps of the 8 steps of yoga. Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali, 8 steps, culminating in Samadhi. The first 2 steps are preparatory, moral, spiritual preparation, preparing the mind for meditation. They are called Yama and Niyama. Yama has 5 disciplines. Niyama has 5 disciplines. They are the first 2 of the 8 steps of Patanjali. So Yama has itself 5 sub-disciplines: Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. Ahimsa means non-violence by thought, word and deed. Satyam means always practicing truth, uncompromisingly practicing truth under all circumstances. Asteya means not stealing, taking another's property. Brahmacharya means celibacy, continence, purity. And aparigraha means not acquiring things which are not really basically essential for our life. Not storing, not acquiring things, even if they come free, which are not really necessary. Aparigraha. These are the 5 steps called Yama. And they constitute the first step of the 8 steps of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Second step is called Niyama, that has 5 more disciplines. Niyama is Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pranidhana, 5 things. Shaucha means purity, both inward and external, purity of body, mind and speech, and environment. 1. Shaucham. Santosha means contentment, a opposite of greed. With whatever we have, we should remain content, and that brings happiness. It is an erroneous notion to think that for happiness we need more and more money, bigger property, bigger house, bigger car, more cars. That's not true at all. More possession of more things does not necessarily bring happiness. Happiness from being content with what we have. Does not matter how much or how little we have. If you are content with what we have, then that is happiness. Shaucha, Santosha. Tapas. Tapas means austerity. In the Bhagavad Gita, we have studied 3 kinds of austerities. Tapas. Austerities of the body, Shariram Tapaha, keep the body, physical body in good condition, fit enough condition to conduct our spiritual practices. Then austerities pertain to speech, discipline, what should we sit, how we should speak. And then austerities pertaining to the mind, keep the mind calm and unperturbed under all circumstances. Manasam Tapaha, Shariram Tapaha, Vagmayam Tapaha, Manasam Tapaha. That we know from the study of the Gita. Patanjali mentions all of that tapas in one step. In the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, many of you know, chapter 17, there are 3 shlokas, 14, 15, 16, describing the 3 kinds of austerities of body, mind and speech. Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas. Then 4th one in the Niyama is Swadhyaya. The word Swadhyaya has different meanings. The general meaning of Swadhyaya is study of the scriptures. Some scripture relevant to our tradition, we have to study every day. Christians read the Bible every day. Hindus read a variety of scriptures. Some read the Bhagavad Gita every day. Some study the Upanishads. Some devotees of Sri Ramakrishna study the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna every day, like that one, daily. Swadhyaya, one meaning. Second meaning of Swadhyaya, that in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra context, is repetition of Om or some other mantra. That's also called Swadhyaya. Another meaning of Swadhyaya is Swa-adhyaya. Swa means one's own study of our mind. Of all the books that we can study, there's one book that is the most important. That's our own mind. We read that book every day. We are writing the script. Every moment you are adding a script to our book. So that we have to study. What are we thinking about? At the end of the day, we should take stock. So many hours have passed since I woke up in the morning. What did I think? And what kinds of thoughts came to my mind? Good, bad, very good, unnecessary, irrelevant. We have to examine it every day. And we can make corrections for the next day. That's the importance of Swadhyaya. Reflection, introspection every night. That's also Swadhyaya. And then the fifth one of Niyama is Ishvara Pranidhanam, surrendering all and everything to the Lord, Ishvara, Sharanagati. Surrendering all our possession, not mine but thine, O Lord. Or surrendering our body, mind, our resources, energy, work, everything is offered to the Lord, Ishvara Pranidhana. So these five, Shocha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhanam, constitute Niyama. 5 more steps. Those are preparatory steps for all yogas. Whether we are practicing Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or Jnana Yoga or any other yoga, Patanjali Yoga, these 10 steps are mandatory. Thus, Patanjali's instructions. Similarly, Shankaracharya has given another set of instructions, specifically in the context of practice of Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means asserting that I am not the body mind, I am the Atman. Maintain that position under all circumstances. That's very difficult because we are conditioned to thinking of the body, we are conscious of the body from the moment of birth. So, to change that, to think I am not the body mind, I am the Atman, is not very easy, but it is another path. Many people follow that one. So for that, Shankara has prescribed fourfold disciplines called sadhana chatushtayam. Many of you studied Viveka Chudamani, and that we have studied these 4 steps. There are a lot of details, but I shall simply mention the 4 steps. Shankara's preparation for Jnana Yoga, practice of the path of knowledge, inquiry and knowledge, consisting of 4 steps, four discipline, called collectively sadhana chatushtayam. First is Viveka. Sri Ramakrishna, although mainly he taught the path of bhakti, he always included this Viveka discipline. Viveka means the ability to discern the difference between all the ephemeral changing things that come and go, as opposed to one thing that always remains unchanging, eternal, infinite, attributeless reality. That means, in simpler terms, as explained by Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel, he says, God alone is real, the world is unreal. And real does not mean it does not exist, it is existing, we are experiencing it, but it is unreal in the sense it is not always there, and every moment it is changing. Every moment everything is changing in this world. So we cannot depend upon that, it will come and go. Our bodies are part of the, body minds are part of the world. They come and go, they change every moment. So that is not to be pursued. You have to pursue one thing that is eternal, infinite, always present, that is our true inherent nature, that is what we are, and that is the Atman or God. That discipline is called Viveka. Then second discipline of Shankara, 4 things, Vairagyam. Vairagya means, there are many definitions of Vairagya. A simpler definition of Vairagya is, Iha amutra phalabhoga viragaha. Iha means in this worldly life, amutra means in the life after. Phalabhoga viraga means not hankering on the fruits of our actions, hoping to get enjoyment from our work in this world or in the afterworld, afterlife. We do the duty, and there our work ends, and result is not up to us. Doing something with the exclusive hope of finding happiness, pleasure for oneself is totally prohibited. It's counterproductive in spiritual life. Vairagya, rejecting everything, pursuing only one goal, spiritual realization, Atman. Very difficult. Then third discipline of Shankara, of the four, is a set of six practices. Very briefly, they are six things. Shama, controlling of the mind, keeping the mind calm under all circumstances, in spite of disturbances. Dhamma, controlling sense organs. The five sense organs, they pull us in five different directions. Mind wants, the eyes wants to see something pleasant, whether good or bad. Ear wants to hear something pleasant, good or bad. The tongue wants to taste something pleasant, whether it is good for health or not. These five sense organs of action, Jnanendriyas, five sense organs of disciplines, Jnanendriyas, they pull us in five different directions, Karmendriyas also. Controlling all of them and focusing their attention on the self, that is Dhamma, controlling sense organs, Samadhamma. Third one is Titiksha. Titiksha means forbearance, practicing forbearance. So many problems arise in everybody's life. When problems arise, we can, before the problems come, we can take preventive measures. Still, problems will come. When the problems do arise, we can take remedial measures. Still, they persist. A new problem comes. Then, after exhausting everything, we have to calmly bear what cannot be cured or prevented. Without complaining, without lamenting, without becoming perturbed. The discipline is called forbearance, titiksha, sahishnata. Samadhamma, titiksha, uparati, fourth one. Uparati means gathering the outgoing senses and making them all focus their attention on the self. Not allowing the senses and the mind to go here and there. Always focusing our attention on the self within Atman, or God within. Upariti, Shraddha. Shraddha means a conviction developed by understanding, backed by understanding, not blind faith. Not because something is printed in some book or somebody said so. No, I should be convinced that that is the truth, by reasoning and understanding. That kind of conviction in the words of the scriptures, Upanishads, and in the words of the illumined teacher. Upanishad says that you are not the embodiment, you are the Atman, Tattvamasi. You should accept it as a starting hypothesis to be the truth and proceed to experience it. If you dismiss it, then we don't have any goal to pursue. So that kind of conviction that this is the truth, what the Upanishad says, and I have to pursue it, I should experience it, that is Shraddha. In the words of the element teacher also. Element teachers like Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, Sri Ramakrishna, all those great saints, what I have taught, they are telling the truth. Their teaching depict the truth. That conviction we should have, and we should try to understand them and follow them. That is Shraddha. Last one, sixth one, is Samadhanam. Samadhanam means knowing the goal of life and keeping the mind fixed on the goal and doing everything that we do in life to pursue that goal. Every action that I take must take me closer to that goal. If any action, any speech, any thought prevents me, takes me in the opposite direction, I should stop that one. That focus on the goal is samadhana all the time. So these six constitute the third step Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadamadi, Shatka, Sampatti. They are the wealth. Fourth one of Shankara's discipline is Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam means a strong desire to achieve moksha, liberation. Liberation from all suffering, all limitations, from the cycle of birth and death. And reaching the goal of self-knowledge or pure devotion. That is, the strong desire must be there. A mild desire is not enough. I must make that the pressing goal of my life. Everything else is secondary and important, but this one I have to do at all costs. The determination is mumukshutva. So those are Shankaracharya's preparation for pursuit of Jnana Yoga. Patanjali's 10 steps, Shankara's 4 steps. Now, Shankaracharya has given 5 more disciplines in his Viveka Chudamani. That's what we want to study today. There's one verse in Viveka Chudamani. Many of you studied that book. This is verse number 367 in Viveka Chudamani. There Shankara has said, before you begin any kind of spiritual practice, yoga, Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or whatever yoga we want to pursue, before we do that, we should prepare our personality, body, mind and speech by doing 5 disciplines. And they are listed in one verse, 367, Viveka Chudamani. And these are the 5. Excuse me. There he says, Yogasya Pratama Dwaram. Dwara means door. Pratama Dwara, the entrance. First step in yoga, pursuing any discipline, any path to realization. Yogasya Pratama Dwaram. 1. Vagnirodha. Vak means speech. Nirodha means control, controlling the speech. We'll study each of these 5. Very important discipline. First, we should control our speech. A lot of energy is spent throughout the day. Some people speak even when they are asleep. And that is waste of energy. So we have to see how to control this speech. The rules for that one. Vagnirodha, first discipline. Second one is Vagnirodha aparigraha. Aparigraha, Patanjali also mentions aparigraha. This Shankara mentioned the same thing. Aparigraha means not accepting things which are unnecessary and not hankering for hoarding, collecting things. You study that one. Vagnirodha, control of speech. Aparigraha, not gathering stuff, not hoarding stuff. Hoping that more things will bring more happiness. They don't. Third one is nirasha. Nirasha means not a hopeless person, nirashi. Asha means expectation of pleasure from our work, expectation of happiness and profit from our work. That should not be there. You do the work, and whatever result it brings, good or bad, success or failure, you accept it equanimity. Sukadakke samakratva, labha, labho, jaya, jayo, that we are studying. That is the next one. Then, next discipline, 4th one is niriha. Niriha is translated as freedom from activity. We can't stop activity. Every moment we live, we have to be active. Some kind of activity going on in our minds, in our body. We are breathing, food digestion happening, blood circulation happening, hands and limbs are moving, we are speaking, thinking, all activities. You can't stop all of them, that we know from study of the Gita. But controlling the activities, cutting down unnecessary activities, doing only required and necessary. Nirasha. Fifth one is niriha, controlling activities. And then 5th one is nityam ekanta shilata. Ekanta means solitude, being alone. Being always in the company of others is a distraction, solitude. Ekanta is nityam, every day or all the time, if possible. Shilata means that should become our habitual practice. Not when it is convenient, nobody is there, I am alone. Not like that one. practicing solitude intentionally on a regular basis. What is the purpose? We'll study that. These are the 5 disciplines. First one is Yogasya Pratmadvaram, Vang Nirodha, control of speech, Aparigraha, not accepting things, Nirasha, not hoping for pleasure from our work, Niriha, freedom from unnecessary activity, Nityam Ekanta Shilata, practicing solitude. Now we'll study this one by one. Most of these are familiar from our study of the Gita and the Gospel. First one is Vang Nirodha, how to control the speech. People have the habit of saying something, whatever comes in your mind, you keep on talking without thinking whether it's necessary, unnecessary, timely, relevant, irrelevant, truth or not. Simply saying something. That habit should be curtailed. It should not. So before we speak anything, we should ask ourselves several questions. Is it the truth, what I am going to say? It must be true. Anything that is not true or questionable should not be said. Second, is it necessary to say it? It may be true, but it may be not necessary, or necessarily why to say something which is totally useless, already known information. Third thing is the timing proper? Right, maybe right thing to say, but timing may not be right. That we have to consider. Fourth thing is, something that we say must be expressed in a pleasant manner that does not cause disturbance to the listener. Anudvegakaram vakyam. So these things have to be considered before we say something. Once we say something, we can't change it. When I say something wrong, the more I try to repair, the worse it becomes. It's just like when handwriting, which people don't do in handwriting these days, when you do handwriting and on a paper with a pen or pencil, you put a period where it does not belong, and then you have to correct it. The more you correct, the bigger it will become. The speech is like that one. So before we speak, we should think. These are the steps, Vang Nirodha. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna has given specifically 5 instructions on how to control speech. These instructions, many of you are familiar with it. Vangmayam Tapaha in chapter 17, verse 15. 5 things we have to observe when speaking something. What are they? Anudvegakaram vakyam. Vakyam means speech. Udvega means turbulence, excitement in our minds or somebody else's mind. When I say something, it should not cause any disturbance in the listener's mind. Not even in my mind. It should create a soothing effect, pleasant effect. Not if I say something that makes that person embarrassed or angry, upset, then that is not good. What I say must be anudvegakaram, should not cause any excitement, turbulence, disturbance, offense in the listener's mind. One requirement. Satyam, it must be absolutely true. This one discipline, Satyam, if there is one thing that we have to point out in spiritual life that supersedes everything, most important thing, one thing that we all have to follow, no matter what we are doing, even if you are not doing spiritual life, even for worldly life, that is truthfulness. Its importance cannot be overemphasized. In the Upanishads, in other scriptures, in the Gita, Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, all have emphasized the importance of Satyam, truthfulness. Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel several places, truthfulness alone is the tapasya for the Kali Yuga. Patanjali emphasizes truthfulness very much. So all we have, but much of it you are familiar with that one. So must be true. Not disturbing, speech must not be disturbing to others, should be the truth. Third requirement is priyam, it must be pleasant. Unpleasant things we should not say, even if it is true. Except in some circumstances we have to say unpleasant truth. Otherwise, the truth is, even if it is true, if it is unpleasant, we don't have to say that one. But some exceptional cases that become necessary to say unpleasant truth. One such circumstance is when a physician, doctor, orders a lab test for a patient, and the lab test report comes and says the patient has some serious disease, cancer or something, then the teacher has to disclose that to the patient. It's unpleasant, painful, but it has to be done. Otherwise, how will the patient know? So that those circumstances are rare, special circumstances. But ordinarily, unpleasant truth we don't have to say. For example, if somebody has a big nose, it's true, but I don't have to say that one. It's true, but what's the point of saying? Creates problem, embarrassment to that person. Body shaming should not be done. So that is priyam. It must be pleasant. Fourth requirement for speech is hitam. Hitam means it must be beneficial. It must be useful. Useless information we should not give, even if it is true. Whatever I say must be useful, purposeful. Useless talk is a waste of time for both the speaker and the listener. Fifth one is Swadhyaya Bhyasanam, practice of Swadhyaya. So as we saw before, Swadhyaya means study of some scripture every day. Some people read one stroke of Gita every day. Some people read one chapter of Gita every day. Some people chant the whole Gita every day. I know several people, Gita Mandal members, they have to chant whole Gita. Some people chant Chandi Stotra every day. Some people read the Gospel every day. Christians read the Bible every day. That Swadhyaya daily practice must be done. Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya also means, another meaning is repetition of mantra. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says by doing this Swadhyaya, repetition of Om or some other mantra, Swadhyayad Ishta Yoga some praptihi, one gets the vision of one's chosen ideal. So Swadhyaya is these 5 things. They constitute Vagnirodha, first discipline, speech. Namely, speech which is not disturbing, pleasant, must be true, must be pleasant, beneficial, timely, and study of scriptures. That is all first discipline of the 5 that Shankara is saying in this verse. Second one is Vagnirodha aparigraha. Aparigraha means, what Patanjali is one of the niyamas. Aparigraha means not accepting or owning things which are not really necessary. Spiritual speakers. Sometimes householders may have to make an exception. They will have to store things for the future. There may be unforeseen necessities. So something that are used but no longer useful, maybe they have to be kept for some time for future possible use for their own family or somebody else. That's okay. But for spiritual seekers, only what is barest minimum requirement for my life, only that much I should keep, nothing extra. Hoarding extra things, collecting things, does not bring happiness. People think so. People collect all kinds of things. Some people collect stamps, some people collect coins, numismatics, philately. Some people collect cars. Jailino, that comedian, he collects cars and motorcycles. And those cars are not like ordinary Toyota, those are antique cars, very expensive cars. Just a couple of 100 cars and couple of 100 motorcycles. Only talks about them in a television show. That's his passion. That brings happiness for him. But that is not true happiness. That are its own, we will not go into the details. But gathering things, holding things, hoping that they will bring happiness is a big mistake. They create more headache. More things I have, my mind is distracted more and more. In my room, if I have many unnecessary things, I think about all, I see them all the time. I think about them. I don't know what to do with them, don't want to throw them. And if I keep it, they are of no use, occupy the space. And why? Keep what is very minimum necessity and nothing extra. That is aparigraha. Every possession is upadhi. Even the body is an upadhi. Mind is also an upadhi. Everything other than the self is upadhi. Upadhi means something that is dispensable, not necessary, but it is there. Sometimes it has a function. You can't get rid of it. So that is, other than that, nothing extra should be kept. Bare minimum necessities. Not accepting gifts even if they come free. See, Sri Ramakrishna practicing aparigraha very strictly. When several people offered him money, he absolutely refused. He didn't even want to hear about that one. A Marwadi merchant offered 10,000 rupees to Sri Ramakrishna so that he can keep the money in a fund and interest will come. He said, absolutely no. And he offered it to Hriday. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, no, don't even accept it. Don't even mention it again. It would become physically uncomfortable if somebody offered all those things to him. And one day he asked M. Mahendranath Gupta, Sri Ramakrishna asked him to bring one shirt. M brought 2 shirts. Sri Ramakrishna said, only, I asked you to bring one, he kept only one. He returned the second one. Minimum necessary. All extra possessions are a burden. They are distractions. They take our mind away from our goal, from God. So that is aparigraha. Practicing aparigraha, what is the benefit? Patanjali explains why we should practice aparigraha, not accepting unnecessary things. What is the benefit? Patanjali explains in his Raja Yoga book, Raja Yoga, Swami Swahananda Yoga book. He says on page 205, the mind of the man who receives gifts is acted on by the mind of the giver, so the receiver is likely to become degenerated. Receiving gifts is prone to destroy the independence of the mind and make us slavish. Therefore, receive no gifts. And also in another place, speaking about aparigraha, Patanjali says, when a man does not receive presents, he does not become beholden to the others, but remains independent and free. His mind becomes pure. With every gift, he is likely to receive the evils of the giver. If it does not receive, the mind is purified, and the first power it gets is memory of past life. Then alone, the yogi becomes perfectly fixed in his ideal. He sees that he has been coming and going many times, so he becomes determined that this time he will be free, that he will no more come and go and be the slave of nature. We have lived so many times in different lives, and if we don't do anything, we will continue to live many more lifetimes. In every lifetime, same story continues, some small changes in the plot, but the same story. Birth, middle age, old age, childhood, middle age, old age, disease, death, a little bit pleasure, lot of suffering, same story. So, non-accepting gifts gives us the understanding of our continuity. So many lifetimes I have passed. This also another, should we waste it like that? Or should I reach the goal and put a stop this cycle of birth and death, transmigratory cycle? That's the benefit of aparigraha. Then great teachers like Sri Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharshi, they never accepted anything other than the most basic, essential things. One day Ramana Maharshi was sitting for lunch in the Ramanashrama. Everybody is sitting on the floor. No separate seat for him like everybody else. And the person serving the lunch brought in a bucket pieces of mango. And he put one piece of mango on everybody's plate. When he came to Ramana Maharshi's plate, he gave a bigger piece of mango he put on his plate. And Maharshi noted that one. Then he called that person, he said, give me the same size of mango that you are giving to everybody else. Don't give me a bigger piece. Otherwise, give the bigger piece to everybody. No special treatment. That is the spirit of aparigraha. That is the Vagnirodha aparigraha. Third one is nirasha. Nirasha means not doing anything exclusively with the purpose of gaining one's own pleasure and benefit. Any action that I should do should be done in the interest of the larger entity, in the interest of the family, not just for myself, but every member of the family must benefit from this work, not only for my benefit, in the interest of the community, in the interest of the people in the workplace, not for myself, but everybody in the workplace should get some benefit from my work, or in the larger society, country, whole mankind, and whole creation. Animals and plants and nature must also in some way benefit from my work. Doing our work in the largest possible context, not in a very close personal context, not for me, but for everybody. Whatever I do, that is the good spiritual practice for seekers of spiritual truth. Doing exclusively something for one's own benefit and enjoying that one, not sharing with anybody else, is very selfish, narrow-mindedness, and this takes away from our goal, namely God realization. The larger we expand our personality, our thinking, the more we identify with all other people, keep their well-being in mind when I do something, the more unselfish I become. The more unselfish I become, the closer I get to God. And Swamiji says, very famous saying of Swami Vivekananda in the Karma Yoga book. Those of you are studying Karma Yoga, on page 87 of Swamiji's Karma Yoga book, Swamiji said, most famous statement, only 3 words in the state. He says, unselfishness is God. Unselfishness is God. Page 87, Karma Yoga book. That tells it all. The more selfish I am, narrow-minded I am, me and myself, the farther away I go, more selfish I become, more narrow-minded I become, more away from God. The more unselfish I become, include everybody, everything else. What I do must benefit everyone, not just me. Other people, animals, plants, things, nature, society, whatever I do. More unselfish I become, smaller becomes the I, and the limiting case, when I become totally unselfish, me is forgotten, whole universe is mine, then we reach the goal of universal consciousness, God realization. So that is the power of nirasha. Then, fourth one is niriha. Niriha is translated as freedom from activity. You cannot become free from activity. As you know from the study of the Gita, not even a moment can a person become free from activity. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakrat. Kshanamapi. Always some activity is going on in our body, mind. We are speaking, doing something, going there, coming here. So activity is necessary, but unnecessary activity done for one's own benefit should be curtailed. What is necessary, timely, relevant, only that activity has to be done, and all other unnecessary activities should be curtailed. Some people cannot quite, when they have some free time, they cannot sit down and relax and think about something. No, they have to be doing something, find something to do. They cannot even sit down for 5 minutes. They have to be doing something. Nothing to be done, but they can't sit quiet. Just move the furniture or change the things and do something, or something they have to be doing. That tendency is there. They're always active. It's counterproductive and spiritual, remaining calm and peaceful. Thinking only of noble thoughts, divine thoughts in our mind. not allowing all unnecessary thoughts to come into our mind, and not doing anything to simply keep busy unnecessarily. That is niriha, freedom from unnecessary activity. In the Gita it says, Sarvarambha parityagi. Arambha means beginning, doing some work, hoping to get pleasure from that one, hoping to benefit from that work for oneself. That should be curtailed. Whatever I do must be in a larger interest, not just for my benefit. And if everybody benefits, I also benefit. I am included in the everybody, not just me alone, larger interest. Sarvarambha parityaga yon madbhaktas same priya in the 12th chapter. So these are some of the disciplines. Niriha. Oh, one more is there. Then, 5th discipline that Shankara says in this verse is Nityam ekanta shilata. Ekanta means remaining by oneself, not in the company of many people. What happens is, people are not bad. You see, presence of God in the people. But if you're always surrounded by people, then what happens? Their thoughts, their speech, their actions, all have an effect on our mind. Even if they don't do anything or say something, their being simply present in the vicinity affects my mind. Not only people, things also. Therefore, we have to practice solitude, spiritual practice solitude every day for some time. Sri Ramakrishna gave the instruction of solitude many, many times. In the Gita also, Sri Krishna says, when you meditate, go into a solitary place. Yoge yunjita satatam ekaki rahasi sthitah. Ekaki means one person. There are 4 people or 10 people, then everybody's thought impinges to everybody's mind and there is clash. That should not be. Alone. Just like Ramakrishna gives an example. When a sapling planted on the roadside, it will eventually become a roadside tree. The sapling is when it is tender, it has to be protected with a fence around that one. If there is no fence, any goat or cattle will come and finish it up in no time. The fence is necessary when the sapling is young and tender. When it grows into a big tree, then you don't need the fence. Even if an elephant is tied to the big tree, nothing happens. So we are like saplings in the spiritual life, beginners in spiritual life. We have to protect ourselves from unwanted interference in our thoughts and in our actions. So remaining alone during prayer time, this is very necessary. In the Bible also same thing says. When you pray, you should pray alone, not in a big group. Congregational prayer has a place in spiritual life, group prayer. When you go to the temple or church or a class like this, many people gathering together, everybody is on the same wavelength, on the same page. Everybody is here today because we are all interested in studying the Vedanta and Ramakrishna's teachings. That brings us to, that is helpful. There is an element of synergy in group prayer. But otherwise, in the company of many other people of dissimilar interests, that is unhelpful company. Then alone, solitude is better. In the book of Matthew, Gospel according to Saint Matthew, this is what the Lord says. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into the closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and the Father which seeth in secret shall reward you in the open. Me and God. No other distracting person presence in the prayer. Solitude is very important. Sri Ramakrishna was very emphatic in the practice of solitude. I shall read a passage from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. This is on page 139. No, 139. Okay. Speaking about solitude, Sri Ramakrishna says, even if one lives in the world One must go into solitude now and then. It will be of great help to a man if he goes away from his family, lives alone, and weeps for God even for 3 days. Even if he thinks of God for 1 day in solitude, when he has the leisure, that too will do him good. People shed a whole jug of tears for wife or husband and children, but who cries for the Lord? Now and then one must go into solitude and practice spiritual disciplines to realize God. Living in the world and entangled in many of the duties, the aspirant during the first stage of spiritual life finds many obstacles in the path of concentration. While the trees on the footpath are young, they must be fenced around. Otherwise, they will be destroyed by cattle. The fence is necessary when the tree is young, but it can be taken away when the trunk is thick and strong. Then the tree won't be hurt even if an elephant is tied to it. This one, page 139, 140. Again, several occasions is talked about solitude. One more passage I shall read about Sri Ramakrishna's instruction on solitude. This is on page 330. Is there then no help for householders? Householders are difficult because always there are family members around, and when he goes to work, there will be co-workers around. Solitude is difficult for householders. Is there then no hope for householders? Certainly there is. They must practice spiritual discipline in solitude for some days. Thus they will acquire knowledge and devotion. Then it will not hurt them to lead the life of the world. But when you practice discipline in solitude, keep yourself entirely away from your family. You must not allow your wife or husband, son, daughter, mother, father, sister, brother, friends, or other relatives near you. While thus practicing discipline in solitude, you should think, I have no one else in the world. God is my all in all. You must also pray to Him with tears in your eyes for knowledge and devotion. If you ask me how long you should live in solitude away from your family, I should say that it would be good for you if you could spend even 1 day in such a manner. 3 days at a time are still better. One may live in solitude for 12 days, a month, 3 months, or a year, according to one's convenience and ability. One has not much to fear if one leads the life of a householder after attaining knowledge and devotion. So many other places Sri Ramakrishna emphasized the importance of praying in solitude. Nitya Mekanta Shilata. Shila means character. It's not a one-time practice. One time if you stay away for 3 days and say I have done solitude, that won't be enough. It must become a regular practice. Every now and then we should resort to solitude and pray. At that time, we should not take our cell phone and our laptop and everything. Then you're always getting messages, and that is not solitude. Keep all those things. We are tethered to this modern technology, never free, never alone. Even at night, some phones are coming, some meeting is held. That for some time we should keep everything away. No phone call, no messages, no texting, nothing. Only me and God. That solitude is necessary. So these are the 5 things that Shankaracharya calls Yogasya Prathamadvaram. First is Vangnirodha, control of speech. Aparigraha, not accepting things which are unnecessary, keeping the barest minimum things only. Nothing extra. All extra possessions are a burden, distractions. We think about them, worry about them. We don't want to throw them. They are there. No, we don't want anything extra. Aparigraha, or she not doing anything for a selfish reason. All our action must be unselfish, in the larger interest. And then, niriha, freedom from unnecessary activity. Doing only what is necessary and using the other time for spiritual practice. Simply doing something to remain busy is not good in spiritual life. Niriha. Fifth one is nityam ekanta shilata, practicing solitude whenever possible and making it a regular habit. These 5 disciplines are conducive to spiritual life. These are the Shankaracharya calls them. These are Prathamadwaram, first step in yoga. Other steps will follow. So let us stop here, and I shall say the closing prayer. Then there will be another concluding music. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy. May all be free from ill health and other problems. May all know, realize and practice what is noble, dharmic, virtuous and auspicious. May no one be subject to any kind of misery. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. No ill will, no hatred, no animosity. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Let us pray to God to make us free from suffering due to natural calamities. As we know, in Turkey and Syria, 25,000 people have already died and many, many more are injured, lost their homes and relatives. Enormous suffering, natural calamities. So let us pray to God to give them relief, some relief to all those people who are suffering. Let us keep them in our prayers. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Next Sunday, Swami Swahananda Maharaj is going to speak on inward peace. Inward life. It's a very important topic, inward life. Please attend 11 o'clock next Sunday, Swahananda Maharaj. Okay. Yeah, yes, very good.
Next Saturday.
Shiva. Okay.
Page 39, if you want to join.
Shiva and for Sri Ramakrishna. Shivratri is coming, Sri Ramakrishna's birthday is coming. Very appropriate. Thank you.